State.
True bill of indictment. In the name and by authority of the state of Texas, the grand jury of Bexar County, state of Texas, duly organized, impaneled and sworn as such at the September term AD 2022 of the 144th Judicial District Court of said county, in said court, at said term, do present in and to said court that in the county and state aforesaid, and anterior to the presentment of this indictment. Count 1, paragraph A. On or about the 31st day of March 2022, Vernon Dixon did intentionally and knowingly cause the death of an individual, namely Avante Boyce, hereinafter referred to as complainant, by shooting the complainant with a deadly weapon, namely a firearm. Paragraph B. And on or about the 31st day of March 2022, Vernon Dixon, with intent to cause serious bodily injury to an individual, namely Avante Boyce, hereinafter referred to as complainant, did commit an act clearly dangerous to human life that caused the death of Avante Deshaun Boyce by shooting the complainant with a deadly weapon, namely a firearm. Count 2. On or about the 31st day of March 2022, Vernon Dixon, hereinafter referred to as defendant, having been convicted of the felony offense of possession of cocaine under 28 grams on the 20th day of July, AD 1992, in cause number 1991 CR 0678 in the 187th District Court of Bexar County, Texas, did intentionally and knowingly possess a firearm after the 5th anniversary of the defendant's release from confinement or release from supervision under community supervision, parole, or mandatory supervision, following conviction of said felony at a location other than the premises at which the defendant lived, to wit, a public place. Count 3. On or about the 31st day of March 2022, Vernon Dixon, knowing that an offense had been committed, to wit, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, did intentionally or knowingly conceal a thing, to wit, a firearm, with intent to impair its validity, legibility, or availability as evidence in any subsequent investigation or official proceeding related to the offense against the peace and dignity of the state.
How do you plead to those counts? True? I'm sorry. Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Not good.
All right. State, do you have any opening statements?
Yes, we do, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Gels.
Counsel.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to tell you what the evidence will be brought forward to you in the next few days. I'm going to take you back to March 31st, 2022. That's the day that Avante Boyce was murdered by this man over here. What we will present to you today and in the next few days is sort of those puzzle pieces I spoke to you about in board iron, about certain pieces that will be brought in. You're going to hear from several different eyewitnesses that were at the location. You're also going to hear from CSI investigators. You can also hear from police officers at the scene that arrived soon thereafter. What you also will start to learn in the next few days, exactly the dynamics that were played out. One, Avante Boyce knew the defendant, Vernon Dixon. He also goes by Keno. That's just his nickname. That's the defendant's nickname. They knew each other because, let me get to her name right, Ezavana Lewis, the defendant considers his stepdaughter. She was dating the victim. In fact, they considered each other husband and wife. They had a young little child together that was actually at the location that day. It's a location just east of downtown at apartments that are listed as called the East Meadows Apartments. It was in the parking lot by a pavilion. It's at a location where Jackie Dixon, which is the defendant's sister, lives there. Also another individual in unique Dixon Battle lives there, which is the daughter of the defendant. They were hanging out by a pavilion by the parking lot, by a 300 Chrysler, a red one, with also red and black rims, that the defendant drove and used as his vehicle. You will hear that day that I called her Edie, that is the victim's wife and stepdaughter to the defendant. I called the defendant to ask for a ride to municipal court for Avante Boyce, the victim in this case, to take care of some tickets. When they went there, the municipal court was closed. So they decided to go over to the apartment complex and hang out. They went to that apartment complex in that red 300 Chrysler and were hanging out, chilling by the pavilion. Little child was there, which is also named after his namesake, the victim, Avante Boyce. His name is Avante also. They were hanging out in the car. They were hanging out by the picnic tables and around that area. You'll see the defendant in a video, a security video from that location, from two different directions. There'll be other cameras also. But one thing that you will definitely notice in that sort of grainy video, it's not high def or anything, but what you will notice is an individual wearing a white warm-up suit. Very distinct, Adidas, with the black stripes down each sleeve. This gentleman over here is an individual in that warm-up suit. You'll see him walking around. We'll bring in several witnesses that state that's Vernon Dixon, that's Keno. You will hear from several of those witnesses that throughout the day, Mr. Dixon is having an argument with Cherie on the telephone. Cherie is the mother of Evie. When he's having that argument, Unique, his daughter, tells her some things. There's an argument that ensues, and then it leads to a physical altercation between Eva and also Unique and Ramisha. Ramisha is the other biological daughter of the defendant that also lived at the location with Jackie Dixon, which I know it's getting complicated here. Jackie Dixon is the sister of the defendant. When that goes on, it's just between the women. The women are arguing and fighting physically. The defendant tries to separate them, asks for help from Avante. Avante comes up, sort of separates them. You'll see him. He's wearing a camouflage jacket that day. When he is helping out, separating them, nothing's going on. Except for they're separating the females from fighting each other. They are separated. Eva gets in the back seat with a stroller and also little Avante, her child that she has with Avante. They get in that back seat. You'll see the defendant in his white warm-up suit walk around that side of the car to the driver's side and get in the car. You'll see Avante walk up to the passenger side for the last time. He opens the door, gets into the passenger seat. Everything's calmed down. Everything's done. The physical fight is over. The arguing between the sisters is over. The defendant puts that car in drive. Goes about 3 feet. He says something of the sort, "Fuck this." Gets out of the car. You'll see this from a different angle. You'll see his arm go up. That's when witnesses will say that he shot twice into that car and hit Avante, once in the lower back and once in the buttocks. That one that goes through his upper hip, goes across his body, hits 2 major arteries. Avante bleeds out rather quickly. He does fall out of the vehicle. He does run off from the scene and ends up in a hallway in an apartment complex where he lays down by a door of one of those apartment complexes and ends up never regaining consciousness. You will hear all of that. You will see all of that. You will see witnesses come up on the stand that do not want to be here. And you will see family members, this man over here, coming up and testifying what they saw that man do and what he did with that gun. Because after he shot Avante, he walks over, hands off the gun to a family member, which we will bring that individual in to say that he took that gun and he threw it away at the direction of the defendant. Also, you will see in that video, he walks over with his mother, the defendant's mother. Elizabeth Pearl Barnes was also at the scene. She had just dropped off the kids from school to Jackie Dixon. You'll see that she takes the defendant in her car They get in the vehicle, he walks around to the passenger side of the SUV, they reverse and they take off from that parking lot. She saw everything that happened. She was an eyewitness to it also. You'll also hear about what I consider and most people consider a butt dial. Meaning that a person that had a phone accidentally called somebody else. That person that accidentally hit that button and called somebody else is no other than this defendant. And the person that he ends up calling happens to be Avante Boyce's mother. She doesn't pick up, and there's a voicemail of this individual screaming and yelling at his own mother and stating some statements on that voicemail. She will also come in and testify. So in the end, you're going to hear from several witnesses. You're going to see some video. And it's going to help you as a jury to put those puzzle pieces in the right spot for you to be able to get a clear picture of exactly what happened that day back on March 31st, 2022. Thank you, ladies. Yeah.
Defense.
Yes, Your Honor. Please, the court, counsel. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank y'all for being here. It was a long day yesterday. We sat through the voir dire process. That was the process where we got to talk with you. Now we have to speak acts, for lack of a better word. So thank y'all for being here this morning. I liked how Mr. Garrahan started off the statement. He said this is a case about puzzle pieces, and you have a lot of pieces here, and you have a lot missing. The state's going to ask you to basically jump to a conclusion, to draw a conclusion based on a very, very incomplete picture. At the end of this, I'm going to suggest to you that they will fail in their burden of proof. Remember, we talked about beyond a reasonable doubt to prove the offense of the murder, felon possession of a firearm, and tampering with evidence. You're going to anticipate probably from a dozen or more witnesses today, or over the next course of a couple of days that we're all together. And ask yourself, question motives, reliability, and how accountable they are. But also ask yourself and think about this as you hear this case of what you're not going to see. I'm going to tell you, you're not going to see DNA. You're not going to see fingerprints. You're going to see an astounding lack of any kind of physical evidence in this case. And again, these are the pieces. State's telling me that we have all these pieces that they want to lay out for you. And they want you to abandon common sense, put it together, and jump to a conclusion that they see fit. Again, ladies and gentlemen, when you see everything, or rather the lack of evidence that you have, I believe that you'll be returning the only verdict that you could possibly return, and that is not guilty. I started off by saying thank you, and I'm going to end that way as well at the beginning now. And again, we thank y'all for being here. Thank you for your attentiveness. We ask you to be patient and attentive throughout this whole process. Have a good day.
All right, state, call your first witness.
Your Honor, we would invoke the rule.
All right, the rule has been invoked. If there are any witnesses in the courtroom, you need to wait outside.
Thank you. Judge, I don't think there's anyone in here, but we'll keep an eye on it as we continue.
All right, thank you.